Hello and welcome everybody. I'm so glad to be back and be talking with Miss Kandis Draw. Welcome back everybody. I'm so excited to have our guest with us today, Miss Kandis Draw, all the way from Chicago. How are you, Kandis?
Hey, good evening. How are you? I am so glad to finally be talking to you, Tasha. It's so good to um, be talking to you about community health work. How are you this evening?
I'm doing fabulous. I'm doing good.
Good.
I'm excited to hear your story because, like I was telling you, I don't believe I have not had anyone had a CHW on to talk about the topic that we're going to be talking about. And so we're going to dig into a couple of different things. So you guys get ready, get your notes ready because she's going to be giving some gems, talking about her experience. And I think it's a unique experience about the work that you do around hospice care, around cancer advocacy in the Black community. All of those different aspects, I think, are really needed, but you bring a different level to it because of your experience as a CHW. And so I'm
Oh,
excited
thank
to have
you.
you on here.
Thank you. I'm excited to
Yeah.
talk to
So
you.
tell us a little bit about how you got started into the health field or, how did this journey
So,
start for you?
well, how do I say? I think it's very unique actually how I started. Um, I worked at a homeless shelter during the COVID pandemic. So I was at one of those emergency homeless shelters, and I just one day I saw this post, and I kind of said it's something that I decided to go ahead and try for, and so that's how I got into it. So to tell you about Journey Care, because that's who I work for. So Journey Care in Chicago is the largest nonprofit hospice palliative care provider in the state of Illinois. So we serve over 13 counties in Illinois, and we do hospice and palliative care for adults and children. So we offer veterans. We have a national veteran service. We do music thanatology. We offer bereavement services to our patients. And so I would say that my role as a community health worker is, I want to say we act as a bridge, as a liaison between patients, families, and the actual organization. So I would say that my role is providing any community resource to any of the patients and families that we serve that we see in home, and also it's and also we do a lot of community events. So you'll see me at food pantries, you'll see me at any kind of out tabling events or anything like that in a setting where I can talk about end of life planning. So me doing community health work, I could say that because I volunteered for so many years and because I did so much stuff, it's kind of something that was second nature to me. I think it's unique when you do something, on the side that just started on the side, but now you can do it full time.
Exactly. And, it's interesting because I hear many people say that whenever we're talking about being a community health worker, I was already doing the work. I just didn't know I could get paid for it, or I was
Yes.
already doing the work. I just didn't really know there was a field out there that I could make, this work a career. So
And I
I
think
feel like,
it's
yeah,
so funny you said, yeah, it's so funny you said it because it seems like it's a lucrative career that seems to be growing more.
yeah, it is. Because I believe people are starting to see the value of having a CHW, whether that's in their community, in their organization. There are so many different variations that community health workers, promotores, community health representatives serve.
All of that.
And you see the value in it. And so I'm glad to start to see CHWs in a variety of other spaces. And
Absolutely.
speaking of, a position just like yours. So you started volunteering, you saw this position. Now, I have to ask for people out there that's like, oh my gosh, that seems like, some serious work because you constantly are around, people that are going through this
Yeah.
transition of life.
Oh yeah.
So Talk us
Well,
through how you kind of prepared yourself for that.
so I didn't prepare myself for that. I truthfully, when when I saw what all it was entailing, I
Mhm.
kind of was shocked that I said, okay, Candace, you're actually going to be dealing with people one on one. You're going to go into patients' homes when you can,
Mhm.
because right now, because of COVID and other things, and people having their own particular, I guess you would say, don't want nobody in my home right now. Too many immunocompromised patients or families that you want to be respectful of, that have decided, well, no, we don't want no company right now. Sorry, we
Mhm.
really want to see the nurse and the doctor. So I'm. It's one of those things where you have to be mindful and strategic about it. But doing hospice and palliative care, it's interesting that when I went into this field, I did not know, and this is going to sound real funny, I didn't know there was a difference. I
How
didn't know that
so?
hospice and palliative care is not the same thing.
Okay, break that down for us. Let us know.
Yeah. So palliative care, say I got diagnosed with stage 3 high grade lung cancer or something like that. Okay.
Mhm.
I can go into palliative care because that is comfort care. Okay.
Okay.
Hospice is when the doctor has given you a certain amount of time to live.
Okay.
Okay. So palliative doesn't necessarily mean that you are fatal, that you are dying. You
Mhm.
just need some help in managing your illness and managing your what's going on with you. So
Mhm.
that's the difference. And I didn't realize that. So it was learning about that, and also being on a team. So I work with two other colleagues. One services the, I guess you could say, the Mexican community, the west side of the city.
Mhm.
My community is predominantly African American, and my other coworker, she holds up the north side of the city. So there are three of us. We small, but we mighty. There's three of
I
us.
know.
So
I'm
it just,
sure.
we made a lot of headway, and that's something to be proud about. I think um, I have noticed that a lot of it's when you're talking about end of life events, especially when you talk to Black people,
Mhm.
you have to be careful. First of all, it's not an easy to talk. That's not something easy to talk about. Period. But when you talk to Black folks, you have to be real careful
Mhm.
about some of the things that you say. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that. I'm sure
Mhm.
you know that.
Yes, I am aware.
I,
It's a
I'm
cultural
sure
thing. It
it
it I
is.
truly
It
believe
is.
so. Mhm.
And big on spirituality,
Mhm.
big on Jesus told me my time and I don't have to believe anything you said. You are absolutely right, you don't. I run into a lot of that, because I've done a lot of, when we talk about end of life planning at Journey Care, we have what we call the 5 wishes advanced directive. Again, that's the advanced directive I hadn't seen. So that particular advanced directive is not just about if you code and you want somebody to clear all of that, that type of thing. It's more, and it's 5 wishes that focus on the overall being of a person, how you want to be treated, what you want your loved ones to know, why you have decided to take the route you took. So it's more, these are my wishes. This is what I want to do. And I guess when I have presented that to the community and to our community, I have many questions because a lot of people didn't know it was available. They didn't know that they could do that. And one of the things that I always say is that emergencies happen and things happening, and you want to be, so the history of the 5 wishes document, actually, a lawyer created the document. He worked with Mother Teresa in the Home for the Dying,
Mhm.
and he, during his time there, he actually saw so many families fighting about how to deal with end of life issues. Well, mom wanted this and dad wanted this and blah, blah, blah. No, he told me this, that. So what the document does is provide clarification, gives the person that is dealing with the illness the control
Mm.
to decide, this is how I want this to be done.
I like that. I like that. I'm sure that that settles a lot of conflict during a time where a lot of grieving is going on, and that's complicated already.
It
And
is.
so this document that you're talking about, this is available. Just anybody can go and download this document.
You can. And you can actually
Awesome.
download on our sites. Yes, you can.
Okay. So
Some
you'll leave the
states,
link. Give me the link, and I can attach it to this podcast.
oh,
Yeah.
yes, I can definitely do that.
Okay.
Yes,
Awesome.
I can. Different states have different requirements, but it is an advanced directive in about 42 out of 50 states. So yes, it is available. Um, I think that um, when you talk about just some of the work that I've done in the community and some of the individuals that I've come across that have said, I'm so glad you said this because that's something that our people need help with. That's something that we don't talk about. We don't focus on this. And that was one of the things that, I mean, I hear it all the time.
I'm
All the
sure.
time.
I'm
And
sure.
one lady stopped by my table and actually said to me, well, that's why we held up in court for a year or two because we didn't do this. I said, exactly, exactly.
Wow. So tell me, how does your team work with other healthcare providers? How are you guys implemented as a part of the healthcare team for hospice care and palliative care?
So if sitting on an IDT team, I mean, I don't know if that's something that, you've done or it's chaplains, doctors, nurses, social workers, all of that. So if the family needs a community resource, maybe it's food insecurity, housing, anything like that, that's where our role, that's where we would come in. But also, um, what I hear a lot, and this is just across the board, is caregiver stress, caregiver needs help rest. So because I'm part of a monthly network, and so I share a lot of resources about that,
Mm-hmm.
about how to help navigate that.
Mm-hmm.
And um, because I've been in that position before, I know that sometimes you don't even want to hear anything. You just want everybody to get away from you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really how you feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I hear a lot of that, in our and sometimes when we're um, in my day to day, weekly things that I hear in our meetings, and I've shared a lot of resources for people who are dealing with that.
So what's one of the things that you do? Because I'm just thinking, okay, you have this caseload, which how many are on your caseload?
So right now, I wouldn't say that I don't have a particular caseload right now.
Mm-hmm.
So because the community health worker role at Journey Care is fairly new, we're
Mm-hmm.
acquiring a caseload. So whenever um, someone needs something or community resource, that's where we would come in.
Okay, so
So
you get a referral. Okay. All
yes,
right.
that's
Mm-hmm.
how it would happen. I think that um, but I still believe that we have a key part in how the team functions.
Exactly. I would agree. And why do you feel so strongly about that?
Feel strongly about.
About being such a key player in this role specifically, because especially since it's a new role. And so whenever, many times we see CHWs become a new role as a part of a team or organization, and it may last for a little bit, and then before you know it, they may get rid of the role. So how are you making sure that y- the role that you are in right now is a role that you can foresee to grow, but also be a role in which they may add other CHWs? What are some ways in which you're trying to make sure that this role is something that's going to be a part of this team moving forward? And even if you had a magic wand, what are some things
Um,
you would do? You
I
know.
think that I think that what's key about CHWs is your community partnerships.
Mhm. Okay.
You know, I really am seeing, and just in time that I've had, that community partnerships and are key building relationships. I think that community health workers are an essential part of the team, to be that person that can go in and speak to the family and have a conversation. Whereas I have been doing community health work and they will come to the table and they will tell me they don't like talking to doctors and nurses. I'd rather talk to you. I don't feel like doing it. So sometimes people like that one on one thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess they want to know that you're hearing them out, that you're listening. Some people don't speak doctor or nurse or other professional well. I'm
This is
saying
true.
that gently, but some people don't speak that language well.
Yeah.
And so I've seen a lot of that, and I'm like, I think that the fact that more and more organizations, and to see how this field is growing. I mean, and not just here in Chicago, but everywhere. I don't know if you attended the national conference, the virtual conference. I don't know if you did.
Not this year. Yeah.
Okay. But that was actually me and my colleagues. That was our first time. And to see all the community health workers all over, or to see how more jobs are going up about
Mm-hmm.
community health work and what this is. Somebody got to do the grunt work. Somebody got to be the one to go in, and really, form those relationships. And that's kind of where I am in my um in my in my day-to-day work. But also, Um, I like to bring new initiatives to the workplace. I like to bring more evolving things to the workplace. So I decided to introduce National Black Family Cancer Awareness Week because that actually fell right on Juneteenth,
Oh,
that week
nice.
that they did. So it was the FDA Center of Oncology Excellence. They started a new initiative encouraging African Americans to know your family history, why what runs in your family, something that we need to talk about
Exactly.
as a people. What cancers run in your family, how you can, what changes can you make, why are you sharing these things with your family, are you getting screened, do you know do you know what the risks are. Also encouraging African Americans to participate more in clinical trials, because research has shown that, because people of color don't necessarily, we ain't the quickest to go and have our blood drawn, because we don't know what test tube might end up being across the world or wherever they say it's going to go. So,
Mistrust. And
but
I
not
mean, this is history though.
with good reason, and
Mm-hmm.
with good reason. I'm
History.
not negating that. With good reason,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to say that, but because of that, there isn't enough data for what works with our bodies, what works with us. We don't, so I may have a type of cancer and a clinical trial might come out. Well, we don't know how this is going to work with this race of people, because we haven't had enough. Um, I guess you could say, Sam, we haven't had enough tests to actually know what this is. So it was also encouraging that. So it's something that I introduced to the workplace, and something that went well, and something that I'm hopefully will do again next year.
And so I know that you do a lot of different work. You are a national cancer advocate and blogger.
Hmm.
You're also on two association boards, the AIDS Foundation of Chicago, Gilda's Club Chicago,
Hmm.
a lot of volunteer work. So
Hmm.
is there a certain time that you felt or came about that made you really want to dive a little bit deeper into your advocacy work? Just your interest into the cancer advocacy work. Is there any, you know, I guess, event or just learning about the work that made you really kind of want to fall more into it?
So yeah, the I'm on the AIDS Foundation of Chicago and Gilda's cover two associate boards that I'm on. So to tell you, really, I got curious about, after when I lost my mom to cancer, and then her really good friend died 18 months after she did, of gallbladder cancer.
Oh, wow.
So I wanted to learn more about what associate boards do, how they function. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just decided to, number one, I started to volunteer. But then number two, I started hearing about Gilda's Club, and then I didn't know what that was. So I just made a phone call, the and I went downtown and I walked through the clubhouse and I was reading and I was looking, and I realized. And then one day, I inquired about the board, the associate board, and so the at the time, it's about 3 years ago. At the time, she was saying how um, it was something, she was like, would you like to sit in on a meeting that we have? And so, to tell you the truth, because I didn't really participate much the first year or so. I would go to the meetings. I, I did a lot of listening
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to know how this works.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I am. I like to read a room. So once I hear and I listen, okay, this is what this is. This is what this does. So then I began to see, oh, so Gilda's is free. All you gotta do is register, which is for free. They help families with cancer. It doesn't matter what it is, mind, body, soul. And they have free camps for kids whose parents may be dealing with cancer, whose kids may have cancer. Everything is cancer centered. That's something that I didn't know, but my own mother was battling cancer.
Mm.
And so I just started to really, really listen, and that's how and then with the AIDS Foundation, that was more too. I lost a good friend, really, really dear friend of mine. And I just decided to learn more about what advocacy work is, and how I could actually become more involved. So this is like my third year on the Gilda's club. So most of the events that we do are all fundraisers for cancer.
Okay.
Gilda's, I don't know where you are in the city or where, Gilda's is a wonderful organization.
Awesome. Well,
And
I will
another thing I
definitely
wanted to
leave
bring
their
was,
info in
yeah,
the podcast notes as well so that people can check it out because
absolutely.
CHWs, if you are in the Chicago area, this is definitely a resource that they may utilize. And the beauty of, having these podcast interviews and people sharing their journey is somebody out there is going to connect with everything that you're saying, Candace. And they're going to say, man, you know what? I've been really interested in checking out something too. And so they
Mhm.
may receive that motivation just by you sharing that story because look at where you are now because you decided to get involved on this in this organization and then transition into an advisory role and it just kind of stacks on top of one another. So I think that's an amazing
Oh,
journey,
thank you.
and thank you for sharing
Thank
that
you.
even though it wasn't even though it's not a position in which you would have chosen, but you've made the best out of it that you could by learning and being able
Oh
to
yeah.
serve, and give.
I wanted to learn what that, I always say, and I love to read.
Mhm.
That's one of the things I like to do. So when they invented Audible, my whole life changed. My whole life changed. I
Okay,
mean,
so
I was listening to
what are you
audio
reading right
books.
now? What are you reading right now?
Okay,
Go ahead and
so
drop
wait a
it.
minute. I've been really okay. I read, okay, last two books are Promised Land,
She said last two books. Ooh.
Obama's memoir. I listened to,
Okay.
which was really really good, and then I started on Cicely Tyson's
Oh, I've
memoir
been wanting
because
to
I was,
get that one.
yeah, that one was, it was on sale on Audible, so I had to use a credit. I had to do
Okay.
it. So yeah, I
Oh, I
started
want to get
listening
that
to
one.
her. I and then the Audible, I think, book that I went through, I read Mrs. Obama's.
Mm-hmm.
I went through that so fast. And I was asking people, like, have you read it? Like, we were all in a group talking about, okay, well, I'm done. So I'm ready for y'all to speak. So yeah, I love to read it. I remember Oprah saying when she received that big award, I don't know, was it the Cecil B. DeMille Award? She got some type of big award at the Emmys or something.
So
And I
many.
remember her saying it was some award ceremony where she said that, um, and she had said this before, but she always said that, um, in your professional life, in your personal life, like, find a way to serve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and how she talked about, you love what you do. When you're good at it, money will come. And when I used to think that that's just nonsense. You know, the first thing you
Because
think of,
she got
okay, that's
money,
easy
right?
for
That's
you to
easy to
say that
say.
because
Yeah.
you have that. But I mean, she comes from humble beginnings. It's not
Yeah,
like
that's true.
so it like she, had it. But that was one of the quote that always stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
Do your best where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, prepare yourself for the next moment. It's like things, little gems that always stay with me when I read her book about what I know for sure.
Mm. At the
I love
end of the
African American
magazine. I
males.
love that.
I
Yes.
know. I was like, oh my
One
goodness.
thing I
Yeah.
know for sure.
One
Yes.
thing I know for sure. So, yeah,
Awesome. Man, I love that. We just kind of went out on a whole like self-development like
we did
broadcast,
all the
but it's
way, right? We
okay
just
because
took it all out there.
that's part of the process. That is definitely part of the process. And so while we're kind of talking about self-development, what do you do for self-care since you are constantly serving in a role that sometimes takes a lot out of people by seeing
It does.
life's transition? So what are some things that Candace does to keep her cup full?
So, okay, saying no has changed my whole life.
Amen.
Okay, I'm gonna say saying no when you know you need to, and boundaries. But also, I think that, okay, I don't know. I started trying like hot yoga.
Okay.
I started trying that, and well, I sweated my whole life out. It was very relaxing and it was fun. And that is something I said, I have never tried this whole Zen and centering. I have no idea what y'all are talking about, but I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna learn.
There you
So I
go.
went in and I tried it, and then I do that. Going to the gym relaxes me, and things like that. I like trying new stuff. I said I'm gonna try Pilates one day. I don't know if I ain't been that adventurous, but things like that. I like um, turning my phone off at a certain time,
Mm-hmm.
off the computer at a certain time. Sometimes I'm not good at it. Sometimes I have to say, "What time is it? Why are you
Mm-hmm.
still here?"
Mm-hmm.
So like I have to like ask those questions of myself. I just it can be difficult sometimes to know when to unplug and let go. But as I've learned as I've gotten older, is that your body will tell you, say, "Hey, hey,
Mm-hmm.
hey,
It
time for you to
certainly
stop."
will.
It will
And
tell you.
I think that's one, man, those are good nuggets. I think that's one of like that is part of the CHW Bible, boundaries. I don't care what anybody says, because if you don't have them set in place, man,
And you
oh
can't say yes
man,
to everything.
you cannot. And you really
Can I
shouldn't
say
want
what I turn
to.
on the van? I can't. Sorry.
You really shouldn't want to. I talked about that on one episode, that but I understand people who do. I mean, I get it because I was once there. And I was once there because I wanted to serve, I wanted to grow. I thought I needed to do all of the things, be on all the board, do all these things. I'm in a different season of life experiences. And for me, that might not be for some, but for me, that's not the best way for me to show myself self-care. So I do definitely believe in boundaries. I mean, go for your dreams, do what you need to do as far as leveling up and everything. But at the same time, you got to have a break and have some time for yourself too. So
You do.
sometimes that means no. And no, I say, I don't know how many times I said this. No is a complete sentence. I think many times we think we need to explain ourselves. No, I can't go because I have.
Right.
Now you
Yeah.
didn't lie. Ain't no, you don't need. You
Completely.
don't need.
Completely lied all the way.
Like nobody asked you to lie. Just say
Like at
no.
all. You could have just said no and moved on.
You're
Yeah.
like, yeah, my dog is sick, and it's like, but you don't even have a dog. Like what?
Yeah, and he had to have surgery because the four puppies on the side. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
no, just stop. So
no, you're right. Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So I
And
would
it, I
go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't think that, to piggyback off what you said, I think that if more people understood that you can't say no and move on,
Mhm.
things would,
Mhm.
your life will change. Wait, that's life changing moment.
There you go. There you go. So tell me about any of the type of, do you guys have certain events at your organization or even on some of the boards that you currently are involved in? Any upcoming events for the community or anything like that that you would like to share with everyone?
Well, so at Journey Care, I work the foundation side. So we just had a golf outing. Um,
Nice.
and I said, I'm gonna learn this game. I'm gonna learn what every club in here. I'm gonna learn what this is. Cause I only knew the basics.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, no, there's a science to this game. I'm gonna figure this out. So, I learned that, and like, it was a great event. I mean, I think that
What was it for? What was it supporting?
it was
Or,
supporting our organization, the foundation, raising money,
yeah, okay.
and it was a wonderful day. The weather cooperated for once. And it was a really good, well attended. I'm glad the people that I met, the conversations that I had, and the money that was raised. I was it's one thing that I did like about that. So we do a lot of raising money for our foundation to continue to function
Hmm.
and to serve our families. When it comes to the AIDS Run Walk Chicago and things like that's what that and the AIDS Run Walk Chicago is coming up in October at Soldier Field. If you are comfortable coming out around people with a mask, as I'm finding out, but even though you'll be in the fresh air, so yeah, the AIDS Run Walk Chicago is with the board that I'm on. Yes, and Gilda's Club is doing an Oktoberfest, which is really a German themed event, and it's at the Columbia Yacht Club, which is right on
Okay.
the water. So we do events, and again, that raises money for Gilda's. That all of those are donation silent auction items that go towards that goes towards the associate board, but also towards Gilda's Club to continue to provide those services for families who are affected by cancer.
Hmm.
Um, and it's something that I really, really like to do. I really,
Nice.
really love doing that. I also noticed that I didn't notice much African American participation, and I didn't realize I'd be the catalyst for change.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I never saw that coming. Like I said, when I started doing stuff, this was, for guilds, this was not a something that I thought that would actually grow into something that I actually loved doing once I learned how everything went. But I always wanted to be able to anybody that I knew who was used to be in a position like I was to, say, oh, Gilda says this. Yeah, you can go for that. So my friends will
Hmm.
call me the cancer queen because that's what I am.
Hmm. Hmm.
I literally will tell you everything like about that. So, um, raising money for different organizations and continuing to fight for cancer advocacy, cures, different things like that is something that I'm passionate about.
That's awesome. I will certainly leave those all of those links in the show notes. Candice, you are doing some amazing work. I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad to hear of the work that you're doing um, in the hospice area, in the palliative care area, in cancer advocacy for African American people, different communities. All of the work that you're doing in the community is well needed. And I hope that your story and your journey inspires other people to get engaged because, as you guys can see and hear from her journey, she started because one, that personal connection she had, but that has now blossomed into her becoming this community advocate that
Yes.
other people are like, hey, I need this, and they know where to go. And that's what being a CHW in the community is all about, being that trusted resource, that trusted liaison in the community. And so, if you want to learn more about her and her work, I will certainly drop her link so that you can reach out to her and contact her. And we hope to, be able to connect with you more. Any additional events and things like that, I'll certainly leave those links. And you guys feel free to connect with her because she is doing some amazing work out in Chicago.
Thank you. I'm so glad I got the chance to talk to you, Tasha.
Oh,
I'm
it's
so
been
glad you.
fun.
Yes, it has been. It has been. Thank you again for having me.
No problem.